check. 1, 2. All right. I can't believe that this is what I get to do for a living, you guys. I love it. I love you guys. You guys rock. God bless each and every one of you.
We're going to start with Freedom in
Back
G.
at ya.
Keep energy high. Let's just worship, guys. We've been here before. This is easy stuff. Just worship. Have fun. Here we go.
One, two, three, four.
Well, hello, Fairfax. We are so glad that you're here with us this evening, in service and online. We are so happy to see you. If you'd like to stand and worship with us, that would be awesome.
Intro. Verse.
Step out of the shadows, step out of the grave. Break into the wild and don't be afraid.
The pre-chorus.
Run into wide open spaces, graces waiting for you. Dance like the weight has been lifted, graces waiting.
Chorus.
Bring it down.
Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, there is freedom. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, there is freedom. Come out of the dark, just as you are, into the fullness of His love. For the Spirit is here, let there be freedom. Let there be freedom.
Interlude. Verse.
Bring all of your burdens, bring all of your scars. Come back to communion, come back to the start.
Pre-chorus.
Run into wide open spaces, graces waiting for you. Dance like the weight has been lifted, 'cause graces it's waiting. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, there is freedom. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, there is freedom. Come out of the dark, just as you are, into the fullness of His love. For the Spirit is here, let there be freedom.
Bring it down.
Let there be freedom.
Instrumental. Bridge.
Chains will fall, prison shake at the sound of Jesus' name. Lives made whole, hearts awake at the sound of Jesus'
All right, here we go.
name.
Bridge.
That's right.
Build.
Chains will fall, prison shake at the sound of Jesus' name. Lives made whole, hearts awake at the sound of Jesus' name.
Interlude. Build. Chorus. All in.
Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, there is freedom. Yeah. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, there is freedom. Come out of the dark, just as you are, into the fullness of His love. For the Spirit is here, let there be freedom. Let there be freedom.
you read this scripture with me? It's Psalms 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not be in want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life.
Here we
And
go.
I will dwell in the house of the Lord
2.
forever.
Intro. 2, 3, 4.
Awesome, Josh. Sing of
Verse
his
1.
goodness. I love you, Lord. Oh, your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, I will sing of the goodness of God.
Chorus. Drums in.
All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God.
Verse 2.
I love your voice. You have led me through the fire in darkest nights. You are close like no other. I've known you as a father. I've known you as a friend. And I have lived in the goodness of God.
Chorus.
All my life, oh, and all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness.
Bridge is coming up. Here's the build.
Build.
Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I'm surrendered now. I give you everything, yeah. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me, yeah. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I'm surrendered now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running
Bring it down here.
It's running after me.
Chorus.
3,
Softly.
4.
All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so good. With
Well in
every
here.
breath that I am able, I'm gonna sing
We're going to start swelling
of
in and
the
get big. Here we go.
goodness of God.
Bam.
All my life
Chorus.
you are so good.
All in.
And all my life you have been faithful. Yes, Lord. And all my life you have been so good to
just raise your hand as a witness to the faithfulness of God? Can you just raise your hand? Just hold it up there for a second. God, as we raise our hands to you, as we raise our hearts to you, maybe those online that are looking at a screen just in their living room or family room, just raising their hands to you, Lord, for your faithfulness and your goodness. And we sing of that and we proclaim that and we
Hey,
remind
Soy,
ourselves
there's
of
a
that
video
because
here.
sometimes we go through
He's doing a video.
situations and hardships and
He is
difficulties
doing a
and
video
struggles where
during his announcements.
we wonder,
At the end of the
we
announcement.
wonder. And so, Lord, we just bear witness
6,
to
I'm
that
going to use
today.
6. 6 is live.
Even in the midst of all the things that we are
Caleb,
facing,
when he says
Lord,
amen,
and
then go to
for
the
those
message.
for those who we love, we think about our friends and people that we are deeply connected to in Lebanon, and our hearts just break for a country that has gone through so much, that it's been in the midst of this pandemic that we have all been in the midst of, and on top of that, in the midst
Looks
of a
great.
financial
3, I'm going to you. 3.
crisis that has been driven
is
by
live.
corruption and now this explosion that has devastated so much of the city. And Lord, it's those kinds of things that can
2,
just
I love it. Keep
overwhelm
going.
us
2
and
is
lead
live.
us to despair.
5.
But Lord, we bear witness
Nope,
that
6,
you
6
are
is
a
live.
good God, that you are a
Sorry, I was going to go
faithful
to.
God, and that you
anyway, I
will
said
be
5, I meant
faithful
6.
even in the midst of this.
5,
And
that
we
looks
pray
great.
for your restoration, your redemption.
5.
We pray that you will
5,
somehow
you're live.
work in this in a way that brings wholeness
3.
like there has not been before.
3, you're live.
That roots out corruption like has not been rooted out before, that brings about restoration and wholeness in a way that has not been there before. Lord, we pray for
5,
that.
I love that. 5, 5,
In
you're
the
live.
powerful and precious name of Jesus, our Lord and Savior, the faithful one.
7, stay there. 7.
Can we
7,
give Lord
you're
a
live.
praise offering
2,
tonight?
2, you're live. Keep doing that 2. Keep doing that.
All
2,
right, you can have a
3.
seat. Welcome.
3
We're
just
so
followed. 3,
glad
3,
that
3
you're
is
with us
live.
tonight. For those of you that
Perfect.
are watching online, glad that you are with us this Saturday evening. And I want to just say a welcome to those in the blue seats. Thank you for being here tonight. For those that are watching online, and if
Yes,
you're
2,
new,
go ahead and
if
just
you're
keep zooming in.
here, somehow found your way in, this is your first time here,
So
or you're watching
2,
online, it's your
will
first
you do
time,
me a favor?
we'd love to connect to you
And,
in some way. If you're watching online, there's a little button that says new here. Just click that, give us some information, we'll follow up with you. If you're here, a couple things that you can do. One, on your way out, there's a little table, a welcome table outside. Stop by there, and there'll be some folks that can greet you, give you some information about the church. Or if you want to text, you can text Fairfax info to 94090. And that's the same thing that you can text, Fairfax info 94090, if you want to get involved in a small group. And we say this every week because our small groups are such a huge part of what we do around this place, that we want everybody in this congregation to be in a small group. And we are moving towards the fall really quickly and going to be starting all of our groups up, a lot of different options. And so if you want to get in a small group, develop some friends, be able to kind of walk through life together with some other folks. If you're online and you want to do that, there's a little button that says groups. Click that, and we'll get some information from you, try to get you in the perfect group for you. If you're here, again, you can stop by the welcome table on your way out, or Fairfax info 94090. So a couple things I just want to share with you before we launch into the message tonight. One is that Fairfax kids, which have been doing a fantastic job during this season, keeping parents informed and trying to resource parents. Fairfax Kids is doing a webinar during August that's called Finding Your Family Rhythm in a New Season. And they're going to be talking, part of the webinar is going to be talking to experts in the field of education, in the field of mental health, and just resourcing parents in this new season that we're moving into in the fall, which is going to be weird and different and all of that, resourcing you to kind of find your rhythm
That
as
looks
a
better.
family during the time.
3,
More
you're about
families
to
that we
go
talk
live. Can
to,
you go ahead and
one of the
zoom
things
in,
that we
waist up?
hear over and over again is it's just hard to find
Keep going.
our
keep
rhythm,
going.
and we had different expectations
Right,
for what the fall was going to be
little
like,
bit more.
and so we kind of need some help with that. That's what this webinar is all
Good
about,
focus,
and
that's
you can
good.
get signed up. It
3,
starts this Wednesday. It's going to be
ready?
on Wednesday
You are
nights. Starts
live.
this Wednesday, and all you have to do is go to fairfax.cc/events, and you'll see the webinar there. You can get signed up for it. And then thank you for your overwhelming response to our Love Your Neighbor project. So we've been doing this for 4 weeks now, where we've asked you to download an app, VOMO, and to get connected to our Love Your Neighbor project. So in 4 weeks, get this, in 4 weeks we have over 400 people that have downloaded the app and have actually engaged with our Love Your Neighbor projects in some way. It represents 270 hours of volunteer service already to our community, which is just amazing. And you've done a bunch of different stuff. I don't have time to go through all the different things that you've done, but you've put together baskets for moms
Mike,
that
there is
are
a button on
dealing
your
with crisis
control
pregnancies.
that has
You
an F
have
minus.
helped to supply our food banks
push
that
that
we
F
are
minus
connected
button
to.
maybe like 3
They're dealing
times.
with folks that have food insecurity in this area. You have served and come alongside our special need friends with our Capernaum ministry, and you've done that in just such a cool way. And you gave
tap it one more time, or maybe 2 more times.
15,000 diapers to young families, young
There we go.
vulnerable
Perfect.
families in our community. That is going to be a huge, huge blessing for them. And so just some incredible things and some neat ways that people are
2,
getting
ready,
connected
2,
to that. A
you
lot of
are
you doing
live.
things individually, but we have some small groups that together are
6.
kind of adopting a project and doing that Love Your Neighbor project together. We have folks who are
6, you're
watching
live.
online who are not even here. They're out of state. Maybe they're out of country even, that are getting connected, downloading the app, getting connected, and serving in some way. And so if you haven't downloaded the app yet, please do that. Again, it's VOMO, VOMO. You can download it right during the middle of the service. You can do it right now. And you just say, click for your organization. The keyword there is Fairfax. It'll take you right to our hub. You'll see all the different projects that we're doing. All right, one more thing. I know that many of you have been following the tragic news that has taken place in Lebanon. And I want to just give you a little bit of an update. I know that you're getting a lot of update on the news about
Great
what's
job,
going on
3.
kind of in the country, but we're deeply connected. For those of you that don't know, we are deeply connected
3,
with Lebanon
you are
and
live.
deeply connected with some ministries that are there. And the biggest one is Heart for Lebanon, that's led by Camille and Hoda Melky. And I just want to let you know that they're safe, first of all. They have a staff of 80. Their staff is safe. No injuries there. All of the facilities of Heart for Lebanon, none of the facilities were damaged. We're so thankful for that. They're mobilizing their staff to be a beacon of hope
2,
in the midst of the despair that country is
2, you're
in.
live.
And maybe some of you
3,
saw
can you
something
press
that was
your
connected
arrow,
to Heart
the
for
arrow
Lebanon this
down
week and
button
didn't even
1
really
time?
know
Let me see if that changes that just a
what
little
it
bit.
was or that it was connected
Yes,
to Heart for
perfect.
Lebanon.
Leave
But
it like
there was
that.
this video that went viral of this
3,
78-year-old
you're live.
mom, grandmother, who was playing the piano in the midst of the rubble in her house that had been so
All right,
damaged
we've
by
got that
the
video coming up,
explosion.
Cheetah.
And it just got picked up by
When
everyone,
he says go, you
and ABC
just like you
News and
normally do, and then
CNN
I'll
and
make sure it
BBC
comes up
and
on
all of
screen.
that.
Yep.
And that 78-year-old grandmother, mom, is Camille's mom. And so they took that video. Mei Lee, their granddaughter, posted it. It just kind of went viral. And it's just been this glimpse of hope, I think, in the midst of incredible despair. And if you haven't seen it, I wanted to give you just a little look. So here was the clip.
All right, here we go. Cheetah, how long is the video?
Just over a minute.
Okay. Kayla, will you do me a favor? That very first fader where you hit the go button, that first fader, can you bring
Doesn't
it
have
in?
her headphones on.
No.
She's on now.
Okay, Kayla,
I was helping Cheetah. What's up?
that's fine. That first fader where you hit the go button and stuff like that, the fader that's up, there's 2 of them that are up, right? You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The very first one on your left, can you start turning that down? Go, 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 go. There you go, that's perfect, 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 perfect. Oof. Poquito mucho, creo yo. That's good, that's good.
And then when the video's done, I'll turn it back up.
Yep, yep, yep. I'll program that in for tomorrow.
5 seconds.
All right, 3, get ready. Kayla, you get ready. Put that light up. Put that light up, Kayla.
We just celebrate that message of hope in the
Perfect.
midst of despair.
Good
3,
job.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Perfect transition.
So
Cool,
one
you
of
can go
the
ahead and
things
clear
that
that, Cheetah.
that May said it was that she and her husband have been
Perfect,
residents
guys.
of Beirut their whole life
6.
and have been through wars, multiple wars,
6, you're live.
bombings, all kinds of things, and said that what the explosion that has just happened has been the worst thing that they've ever been through, really, as a nation. And so we just want to be praying for them. We put together we've started
3.
a Lebanon relief fund that you can give to, and we're working, because we have so many people on the ground that we're connected to, we're working with them to find out the ways that would be most helpful in terms of responding to the need, and to know that the money is going and being used wisely and all of that. So if you want to give to that as part of your worship tonight, or you just want to give to the general fund of Fairfax, a couple ways that you can do that. If you're online, there's a little button that says give. Just click that, and that will take you through the process. We have boxes in the back of the sanctuary. If you put something in there and you want it to go, if you put Lebanon on it or Lebanon Relief Fund, it will get to the right place. If you go online, and you can do that by texting, just Fairfax Give to 77977, or if when you get home, if you go online, there's a little drop down when you go to our giving things, is general budget, and then it'll say the Lebanon Relief Fund, and so you can give that way. And so I encourage you to be generous as we respond to this overwhelming need that is taking place. All right, so we're starting this new series this week that's called Better. And who doesn't want to be involved in something that is better, right? And it's a study of the book of Hebrews. And let me just give you a little context for the book of Hebrews. If you are not familiar, New Testament book. Some things that we don't know
Cheetah or
about
Kayla?
Hebrews. We don't know who the
I don't know if
author
Kayla's
is
on or not,
Yeah,
but
what's up?
of the book
He
of
didn't.
Hebrews.
He didn't.
There are some
He didn't
cases
mention
in
the
Old
pictures,
Testament
right?
and the New Testament
He
where
did, but
we're
then
not quite
they
sure who the
didn't
author is.
come
We
up
know
when
that it's the inspired word of God,
whatever,
but we're not
they
quite
didn't come
sure
up.
who the author
Oh,
is.
okay.
There's a lot of
That was
different
my fault.
some that
Also,
Paul was the
the-
author, some that Barnabas,
Can you
who
move
worked with
whoever's
Paul,
doing camera right
was
now,
the
because
author.
the
One was
little
that
lower
Apollos,
third looks weird
was the author, and
from
in
the
some
light
cases
behind
some
it.
other thoughts that there were some
okay.
other disciples. But we really
There you
just don't
go.
know
He's just gonna
who
follow
the author
Rod.
of Hebrews
Okay,
is.
so
But
I
we do know
didn't
that
hear
the
a
author
clear
of
cue,
Hebrews
and
has a
that might have been
first-hand
because I'm
relationship with the
multitasking,
disciples
but I didn't hear a
who
clear cue for
ministered
the actual
with
picture.
Jesus,
Like,
and
hey,
so,
we have a
who
picture we
became
want
the
to show you. He
apostles,
didn't say
and so
something
we
like
know
that.
He's not.
it is
No, he didn't.
centered
He's not
in
gonna
apostolic
reference the picture,
teaching,
but
so
he
we
just
know that
wanted
it's
us to
connected
have
to
them
that.
going in the
And we know
background
that
while
the
he's
author
talking
knows
about it.
the
So
audience
Well, that's.
we
I
that
need
he's
a clear.
writing to
I can't just
very,
do that
very
because
well,
on the web
because
it'll
he
be like, well, why are these
assumes
pictures up?
that
Like,
the audience
anyway.
I mean, he was
thorough
talking about the
knowledge of the
exact
Old
thing that
Testament.
was on the
He
photo.
assumes
Like
that
it,
they know
it would make
particularly
sense.
they
Okay.
know the Torah, the first 5 books of the
There
Old
was just
Testament.
no
It's
cue
often
for it.
called
Like
the
it just
books of
nothing switched
Moses.
over.
Yeah, 'cause I
They
didn't-
know that
I didn't-
and are very,
yeah,
very
I just didn't
familiar.
get it.
No,
I
no
didn't
worries.
He
get it clear.
assumes that they know
We need to maybe
how
figure out how
Abraham's
we can show
family
the
became
pictures
the
and
nation
not
of Israel.
lose Rod at the
He assumes
same
that they
time.
know
Yeah.
that Moses
So,
led the
cool.
Israelites out of Egyptian slavery into Mount Sinai, where they got the word of God and where they entered into a covenant with God. He assumes that they know that they built the tabernacle where priests could offer sacrifices. He assumes that they know that the people of God wandered in the wilderness for 40 years before they came to the promised land. He assumes all of that, which means that the audience is made up primarily of Jewish Christians, folks that were raised Jews but then heard the gospel of Jesus Christ and gave their life to Christ, which is why the book is called Hebrews. It's a reference to who the audience is in the book. And based on what's said in chapter 10, we also know that this group was facing persecution. They were facing imprisonment because of their association with Jesus. And the result is that some are actually walking away from their faith. And the writer of Hebrews is saying to these suffering people, in the midst of your pain, fix your eyes on Jesus. That is the overarching theme of Hebrews. Fix your eyes on Jesus. And the reason that he calls them to fix their eyes on Jesus is because Jesus is the better version of everything that God has given them in the Old Testament. That he reminds them that God gave the word of God came to Moses on Mount Sinai in order to guide the people of God, but Jesus is the better and ultimate word of God, and that he will guide them in a way that the word that was given to Moses could never guide them. And he reminds them that Jesus, or that God brought them out of the Egyptian bondage into the promised land to give them a home and to give them rest. But Jesus is the better rest. He is the ultimate rest, that they will find rest in Jesus. They will find a home in Jesus that no piece of real estate could give them. He reminds them that God gave priests to intercede for them in the Old Testament, but that Jesus is the better and ultimate priest who will intercede for them before God and will be an advocate that no human being could ever be for them. And that God gave them sacrifices in the Old Testament to pay for their sins so they could be in relationship with God. But Jesus is the better and the ultimate sacrifice. That Jesus has made it possible to have a right relationship with God that lasts for eternity. That Jesus is the better and the ultimate version of everything that they have experienced in the Old Testament. So that's why they should keep their eyes fixed on Jesus. And so that's what we're going to talk about over these next 4 weeks. How Jesus is the better rest, how Jesus is the better priest, how he's the better advocate, how Jesus is the better sacrifice. And we're beginning this week by talking about how Jesus is the better word. Look at how the book of Hebrews begins. Verse 1, chapter 1. In the past, talking about in the Old Testament, in the past, God spoke to our forefathers through the prophets at many times and in various ways. But in these last days, and when the writer of Hebrews talks about the last days, in fact, in the New Testament, when they talk about the last days, they're not talking about some time that is out there in the future where we go, oh, are these the last days? Saying, no, the last days are the period of time between Christ's first coming and Christ's second coming. So they were in the middle of the last days. We are in the middle of the last days. We are in this period between Christ's first coming and Christ's second coming. He says, in these last days, he has spoken to us by his Son, talking about Jesus, whom he appointed heir of all things and through whom he made the universe. The Son is the radiance of God's glory and the exact representation of his being, sustaining all things by the power of his word. And after he had provided purification for sins, talking about what Jesus did on the cross, he sat down at the right hand of the majesty in heaven, so he became as much superior to the angels as the name he has inherited is superior to theirs. Now, when the writer of Hebrews said, in the past, God spoke at various times and various ways, the term various ways is polytropos, which means in pieces, that he spoke in pieces. He's saying, basically what the writer of Hebrews is saying is that in the past, what God spoke through the prophets, Isaiah, Ezekiel, Amos, all of the prophets, that what God spoke through the prophets was true, but it was kind of truth that came in piecemeal fashion. That there was this statement of truth, and then this statement of truth, and then this statement of truth. But what he's saying is that in Jesus Christ, all of those statements of truth that we read about from the prophets in the Old Testament, all of those statements of truth are embodied in one person, in Jesus. That he is the embodiment of all of the truth that was spoken by the prophets. And when the writer of Hebrews says that Jesus is the exact representation of God, the word that's translated representation is literally the Greek word for character. That he is the exact character of God. So he's saying that Jesus is the perfect reflection of God's character. If you want to understand what God is like, if you want to understand the character and the nature of God, he's saying, look at Jesus. Jesus is the exact representation of God's character. And when the writer of Hebrews says that Jesus is the radiance of God's glory, he's saying that Jesus in relation to the Father is like the rays of light that come from the sun are in relation to the sun, to the source of the light, right? They are inseparable. That one is a visible representation of the other, a visible manifestation of the other. So for the writer of Hebrews, there is no God apart from Jesus. He's saying Jesus is the exact representation of the character of God, of the nature of God, the ultimate reflection of God's glory. Now, in the Old Testament, when Moses led the people of Israel out of Egyptian bondage, there was this fiery cloud that appeared. And it appeared in the form of like a column. And it was like a column of fire. And at night, when everything was dark, you could see that it was this column of fire. During the daylight, when the sun was out, it kind of looked like a fiery cloud. And this fiery cloud is awesome, it's powerful, and you see it throughout the Old Testament. You see this fiery cloud showing up throughout the Old Testament. When the Egyptian army is chasing the Israelites as they have escaped Egyptian bondage, this fiery cloud comes down in front of the Egyptian army, and it just stops them in their tracks, and they can't get around the cloud, and it allows the Israelites to flee. When the Israelites get to Mount Sinai, and Moses goes up on Mount Sinai, the whole mountain is enshrouded in this fiery cloud that if the people touch the mountain that's enshrouded in this cloud, that they'll die. That's this fiery cloud. And this fiery cloud, it's the fiery cloud that leads the people of Israel through the wilderness. This fiery cloud that takes them from place to place to place until finally they get to the promised land. And later on, when the temple is dedicated, they build the temple under Solomon, and it's dedicated under Solomon. It's this same fiery cloud that enters the temple, and when it enters the temple, everyone falls prostrate before the Lord. So you see this fiery cloud throughout the Old Testament, keeping protection from the Egyptian army, guiding them through the wilderness, enshrouding the mountain, being the presence of God in the temple, all of this fiery cloud. Now, what is the fiery cloud? Well, it's the glory of God. That's what the fiery cloud is in the Old Testament. It is the glory of God. It is God in a form that can be seen. You know, God is a spirit that we cannot see, but the fiery cloud was God in a form that could be seen. In the fiery cloud, the people of God could see the brilliance of God. In the fiery cloud, the people of God could see the beauty of God. In the fiery cloud, the people of God could see the power of God, the awesome power of God. But they could not approach
Did you see my
the
text?
glory of God. If they got too
Bro, I
close
texted you
to
that
the
before
fiery
we started.
cloud, it
I
would
know.
destroy them.
You need to hold on to your
It
butt
would
a little bit and focus on
absolutely
other
destroy
things,
them.
okay?
And what the writer of Hebrews is saying is that in Jesus, we see the ultimate expression of the glory of God. That in Jesus, it's a glory that, it's not a glory that destroys us if we get too close. It's actually, and it's not a glory that we have to protect ourselves from. It's not a glory that we have to shield ourselves from. It's a glory that we can fix our eyes on. It's a glory that we can look at. It's a glory that comes in human form. That in Jesus, we see not only the glory of God, but we see the humility of God. Both of those things in Jesus. That Jesus is the best expression of the glory of God. Jesus is the final expression of the Shekinah glory that they saw in the Old Testament with this fiery cloud, that now Jesus is the ultimate expression of the glory of God. In the Old Testament, Moses was instructed to put a veil over his face so that he would not be destroyed by the glory of God. Now, those of you that are here and you're watching, you're wearing a face mask, you go, is it kind of like the face mask that we have to wear? No. It was like a total veil. And particularly it covered the eyes, because if Moses looked straight into the glory of God, into this fiery cloud, it would be like looking into the sun. You know, you cannot look directly into the sun or it will do damage to your eyes. And it was the same thing for Moses, that he was instructed, do not look directly into the glory of God. Do not look directly into this fiery cloud or it will destroy you. And so he wore this veil that covered his face so that he wasn't destroyed by the glory of God. But Paul reminds us in 2 Corinthians 3 that because of Jesus, now we can fix our eyes on the glory of God. Now we can fix our eyes on Jesus. Now we can look at the glory of God with unveiled faces, Paul says. Faces that are not having to be covered by this veil. This is the way he says it in 2 Corinthians 3. Whenever anyone turns to the Lord, the veil, have you ever read this and went, what in the world are they talking about here? It says, when anyone turns to the Lord, the veil, he's talking about the veil that Moses had to wear to protect himself from the glory of God. The veil is taken away. And we who with unveiled faces all reflect the Lord's glory are being transformed into his likeness, into the likeness of Jesus, with ever-increasing glory, which comes from the Lord, who is the Spirit. Now, the reason that it's so important, is because when you fix your eyes on something that is way beyond someone who is way beyond where you are, it changes you. That happens in human relationships all the time. When I spend time with people who are kinder than me, people who are more compassionate than me, people who are able to deal with difficult people way more graciously than I can deal with difficult people. When I spend time with people who are further along in their spiritual journey than me, it changes me. I'm changed by that. As I gaze on their lives, it changes my life. That's just true in human relationships. There are probably folks that you know that when you are with them, when you gaze on their life, it changes your life. It makes you want to be a better person. It makes you want to be someone who has more compassion and more mercy and more grace, or whatever it is. And Paul is saying that that is what happens when you fix your eyes on Jesus. That it changes you. It transforms you. And that's why you cannot reduce Jesus down to just being another prophet. You can't reduce him down to just being another one of the prophets who came along telling us some things about God. Because Jesus is not just another prophet. Jesus is the transcendent, uncreated, beginningless God of the universe. And that self-understanding that Jesus has, it permeates everything that he did and everything that he said. In fact, you even notice it in the way that Jesus speaks the truth of God. Like every time the prophets spoke, they would usually say, "Thus saith the Lord." So it's like, I'm speaking for God, the prophet is saying. So the prophet says something, says, "Thus saith the Lord." I'm speaking for God. Jesus never said, "Thus saith the Lord." What Jesus says is, "Truly, truly, I say unto you." He said that over and over again. "Truly, truly, I say unto you. Truly, truly, I say unto you." Because Jesus doesn't just speak the truth of God like a prophet. Jesus is the truth of God. And that's exactly what he declares in John 14 when Jesus says, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. N.T. Wright, one of my favorite authors, puts it this way. How can you live with the terrifying thought that the hurricane has become human, that the fire has become flesh? I love that phrase. That life itself has walked into our midst. Christianity either means that or it means nothing. It is the most devastating disclosure of the deepest reality in the world, or it is a sham and total nonsense. Most people, this is so interesting, most people unable to cope with saying either of those two things, either that he is the transcendent God or that this is a sham. Most people unable to cope with saying either of those two things are condemned to live in the shallow world in between. This is why the writer of Hebrews goes on to say what he says at the beginning of chapter 2. Listen to this and we'll wrap up with this. He says, we must pay more careful attention, therefore, to what we have heard. He's talking about the gospel of Jesus Christ, the gospel of the kingdom. We have to pay more attention to what we've heard so that we do not drift away. For if the message spoken by angels was binding and every violation and disobedience received its just punishment, how shall we escape if we ignore such a great salvation? This salvation, which was first announced by the Lord, was confirmed to us by those who heard him. God also testified to it by signs, wonders, various miracles, and gifts of the Holy Spirit distributed according to his will. Now, when the writer of Hebrews refers to the message spoken by the angels, he's talking about the law that was given to Moses on Mount Sinai. And according to Jewish tradition, that was given, the transmitters of that message to Moses on Mount Sinai, according to Jewish tradition, were the angels who delivered the law of God to Moses. And he's reminding us that the law was binding, that the law that was given to Moses was binding. In other words, if you rejected the law of God, there were consequences. Like if you were not obedient to the law of God, there were consequences. If you didn't take the law of God seriously, there were consequences. If you didn't pay attention to the law of God, there were consequences. And what the writer of Hebrews is saying is that if the law was binding, if the law that was given to Moses was binding, how much more binding is the good news of the kingdom that Jesus brought? A kingdom where sins are forgiven, a kingdom where the slate can be wiped clean in our lives, a kingdom where wrong things can be made right, a kingdom where broken stuff can be repaired and restored, a kingdom where dead things, dead relationships can be brought back to life, a kingdom where despair can give way to hope. Like he's saying, if the law that was given to Moses, if that was binding, how much more binding should be this message of the kingdom that Jesus brought into the world? And when the writer of Hebrews says we must pay more careful attention to that, to these things, the word attention literally means obsessed, an obsession. He's saying that we need to be furiously obsessed with the gospel. That we need to be furiously obsessed with the kingdom of God. That we need to be furiously obsessed with keeping our eyes fixed on Jesus. One writer put it this way. They said, if the distance between the earth and the sun, which is about 92 million miles or 93 million miles, if that distance is represented by the thickness of one sheet of paper, then the distance between the earth and the next nearest star would be represented by a pile of papers 70 feet high. And the distance across our one galaxy would be represented by a pile of papers 310 miles high. And our galaxy, as our scientists at our church remind us all the time of, and I love this, our galaxy is just one little speck of dust in the universe. And if Jesus is the one who, according to Hebrews, if Jesus is the one who holds all of that together, that universe and maybe multi-universes together, if God is the one who holds all that together, if Jesus is the one who holds all that together, just with the power of his word, then that is someone we need to be furiously obsessed with fixing our gaze upon. That's not someone who we can put on the shelf during the week and then drag out on the weekend when we come to church. That is not someone who we can marginalize in our life. That's not someone who can just be a little helper or a little assistant to us, who can come to us in the midst of certain situations and then we put him back on the shelf. No, that is someone we have to fix our eyes on. That's the one we have to keep our gaze fixed on when things are going well and when things are falling apart. That's the one who we have to keep our gaze fixed on when we are in the midst of the calm and when we are in the midst of the storm. That's the one, Jesus, that we have to keep our eyes fixed on. When everything is okay, when things look hopeful, and when we are overwhelmed by an explosion of despair.
All right, he's wrapping up, guys.
That's the one. He's the one that we have to be furiously obsessed with keeping our eyes fixed on. That is the only thing that will allow us to navigate through everything that life throws at us, is when our eyes are fixed on Jesus. So the writer of Hebrews says, keep your eyes
Get ready to go to keys.
I don't know what's going on in your life, those of you who are watching online, those of you who are here in the blue seats. I don't know the things that are going on in your life.
I'm going to go to you real
whatever
quick.
it is, the writer of Hebrews is saying to you, keep your eyes fixed on Jesus.
3, back to you.
That is where your hope is found.
Rod is on
That
fire
is where
tonight.
wholeness is found.
5.
That is where restoration is found. That is where repair is found.
Now you're good. 2,
Keep
2,
your eyes fixed
3,
on Jesus.
3.
Lord, we face so
5
many
go
things in this broken
to-
world.
No, I'm going to stay here.
And to
3.
be honest,
3
it
is
is
life.
easy to take our eyes off of you
Perfect.
and to place our eyes on other things,
everyone is
especially
a
when we're in the
pro.
midst of the storm, especially when we are in the midst of things that have turned our world upside down, especially when we are facing a sense of hopelessness and despair. But Lord, we know ultimately the only thing
It's so crazy to
that
watch
will bring
everybody
us
swarm
hope
on
is when we
stage.
keep our eyes fixed on you. And so, Lord, keep us focused on you. Keep us focused on the glory of God that will not destroy us, but actually we can enter into a relationship with. The glory of God that will not blind us, but that actually we can come close to. The glory of God that is Emmanuel, that is God with us, that is God come close to us. Lord, keep our eyes fixed on you. In the name of Christ we pray. Would you stand
1,
together as we pray?
2, intro, 2, 3, 4. Intro. Verse 1.
You are promises never fail. Your promises never fail. Your promises never fail. No, your promises never fail. No. You never fail.
Bridge 1.
Here we go.
So I am standing on every promise that you make. I will see it come to pass in your name, in your name. Jesus, I will trust every word I hear you say. I will see it come to pass in your
Gonna open it up.
name, in your name. Oh, I am standing on every promise that you make. I will see it come to pass in your name, in your name. Oh, Jesus, I will trust every word I hear you say. I will see it come to pass in your name, in your name.
Here you go, Mary Kelly.
In your name. Oh, we trust your name. We trust you, Jesus. You mean every word you say. Oh, we believe. Come on, we declare. Oh, I am standing on every promise that you make. I will see it come to pass in your name, in your name. Jesus, I will trust every word I hear you say. I will see it come to pass in your name, in your name. I will see it come to pass in your name, in your name. I will see it come to pass in your name,
Big
in
crash.
your name. I will see it, 'cause I know your thoughts, your plans for me are good, and I know that you hold my future and my hope. Your promises never fail. Your promises never fail, Jesus. Your promises never fail, no. Your promises never fail. Ooh. Turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and
Got another one.
grace. So we turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace.
All right, Fairfax, been so great to be with you today, and we're looking forward to continue this series with you next week. For those of you that are here at Fairfax, hang tight. Just a moment, the ushers are going to come forward. They'll dismiss you row by row, keep a little separation, and we just ask that if you gather to talk, that you do that outside, a little safer outside. Keep your masks on, all of that, and love your neighbor just by protecting your neighbor. We're so glad that you were with us here tonight. So glad for those of you that are watching online. We will see you next week. Go in
Do I
God's
do the
peace and
announcements
in his
now?
grace.
Cheetah, go ahead and launch the pre-roll. Yeah. 7. Ready? 7, 7. Nice. 2. No, yeah, 2. Yes, 2. 5, 5. All right, here comes the pre-roll slides. Actually, no, 3, 3. I love that. 3, 3. 6, 6. Nice. 5, 5. 2, 2, 3, 3, 6, 6. Nice. 7. Nope, actually 5. 5 is live. All right, here we go. Oh, nope. We're building it up. 7, 7. Nice. 6. Go ahead and 6 is live. 7, acércate la batería. 5, 5. 7. 7, 7. Nice, 7. Acércate, acércate, 7. Pues suavecito, suavecito. No. No puedes dar unos pasos adelante. 6, 6. Te quedas trabado. Ok, te quedas trabado. Ok. 5, 5. 7. Ok, 7, dame la batería y pues me vas a dar el cuarto un poquito, ok? 7, 7, you're live. Nice. All right, pre-roll. Pre-roll is live. We're out. Thank you, guys.